Welcome, fellow veterans, family, friends. I want to thank Johnson County Suicide Prevention Coordinator Bill Hawley and Sheridan VA Medical Center Director Pam Crowell, Community Engagement and Partnership Coordinator Kayla Stevens, and Public Affairs Officer Kristina Miller, as well as Cherish Thompson. We would also like to thank Governor Mark Gordon, Johnson County Commission Chair Bill Novotny, and Buffalo's Mayor Shane Schrader. But mostly, I want to thank you for coming out today to be with us and addressing the issue of veteran suicide. Here to explain, reach out to me and explain the why of the situation. Please welcome Sheridan VA Medical Center Director, Pam Crowell.
Hi, thank you so much for coming today. For a few years now, preventing suicide has been the #1 clinical priority for the Veterans Health Administration, the branch of the VA that I work for. And the VA knows that we cannot do this alone, that it takes a community, it takes grassroots, it takes churches, it takes first responders, police, and it takes fellow veterans, and it takes the community to help us prevent suicide in veterans. And so this actually, Kristina's going to tell you a little bit more about Reach Out to Me, and Kayla's going to tell you a little bit more about what the VA can do to help prevent suicide in veterans. But this Reach Out to Me campaign that your community is engaged in now has become a national best practice. And so we have communities calling us, we have service organizations calling us, and we have other VAs calling us. And so this is something that we know will work, and we know it's something that you all can help us engage in. So I always do a couple things when I do this. The first is, when you go to meetings or you go to things like this, people tell you to put your phones away, but I'm going to ask you to get it out. Because when you know someone who might be thinking about harming themselves, the last thing you want is to try to remember a phone number, or how do I get that number? How do I find it? And so if you take your phone out and you put Suicide Prevention Hotline, you can dial 988. And that hotline will take you to the Veterans Crisis Line. It will also take you to the Wyoming Crisis Line. And now it's been funded by the state. And so I want to thank Governor Gordon for his work to ensure that Wyoming citizens also have access to the 988. So the other thing I'd like you to do, because talking to someone who may not be feeling well, and it may not be a physical thing, is getting comfortable asking them if they're okay. And so this is where you get uncomfortable, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an assignment. I want you to turn to someone, maybe someone you know or don't know, and ask them if they have any thoughts of harming themselves, or how are you feeling? Do you feel like you could hurt yourself today? And ask them to engage with you on that question, because it's remarkable the honest answer that people will give you if you ask them how they're doing. And so I want you to sort of think about that, practice that, and tuck away that 988 number, because it's not just for veterans, it's for communities, it's for kids, it's for all your loved ones, your family members, your church members, and your communities. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I do just want to thank you for being here today. The Sheridan VA loves the Buffalo community, and we really very much appreciate your support. So thank you all for being here today and for helping us with this very important mission.
Community Engagement and Partnership Coordinator, Kayla Stevens.
So I have a long title, but essentially what that means is I'm a social worker on the suicide prevention team. I embed myself within the community and help to address barriers to care and do things like this. So thank you for being here to address this public health issue of suicide. Suicide is complex and has no one single cause and no one single solution. VA utilizes a full public health approach, which is combining community and clinically based interventions. We know stigma surrounding mental health and suicide holds people back from seeking help or talking about what they are experiencing. We all experience mental health challenges to varying degree. Sometimes we feel like we can't reach out, but this campaign helps remind us that we can't do it alone, and there are people there who care about us and want to be there. Reach Out to Me battles stigma by bringing the topic of mental health and suicide into the light and reminds us we're not alone. Having support people, a community, and hope are powerful protective factors against suicide. A small act of posting the Veterans Crisis Line on your social media or displaying a poster can instill a sense of hope. Hope that things can get better and that there is 24/7 access to someone who cares and can help you in your moment of need. Some veterans might not feel like they have a support system, but by seeing Johnson County supporting Reach Out to Me, they know they have a community that supports them. Please remember that the Veterans Crisis Line 988-1 is also available for third-party callers who are concerned about a service member or veteran. We all have a role to play in suicide prevention. Thank you all for your time and willingness to be able to support veterans. Thank you.
Pretty proud to actually introduce this next individual. She was one of the minds behind this whole thing. Public Affairs Officer Kristina Miller.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Kristina Miller. I'm a Navy veteran and very proud of it. I'm also married to a Navy veteran, and our son went into the Marine Corps. So very proud of the service that we've given our country, and I hope that all of you veterans out there feel the same. So as Floyd mentioned, this idea came about actually a few years ago, but it really came down to more me being a veteran than being a VA employee, because the VA has worked really hard to find different ways to reach veterans who may be in crisis. But at the end of the day, as Kayla mentioned, and as my director mentioned, we know that we can't reach everyone. There's a lot of veterans who don't want or feel like they need our services because they maybe have good insurance, or for whatever reason, they choose not to seek out VA. But as a veteran, I don't care if you come to the VA. I want you to get help. And that's what it comes down to. That's why we said reach out to me, because we want individuals to put themselves out there and say, hey, I'm concerned about people around me. If you guys need someone to talk to, veteran, non-veteran, please reach out to me and we will find help together. That's what this campaign is about. Yes, it's VA led, but at the end of the day, we want to be communities that say, hey, we know that there's people struggling all around us. And if we don't proactively share that it's okay to talk about and get rid of that stigma, then we're not doing our part as individuals. And that's what it came down to when we talked about how we could put the onus on the individual to put themselves out there. And so that's where this came about. As Kayla mentioned, we're very much embracing the collaborations with the community, which is why it's been so great that Kayla's worked with the county team, with Bill and Kristen. And we're really excited to kick this off, because one humongous part of this is, there's two parts. One of them is we have these coasters. You may have seen something about it already or heard something about it, that we are offering to all of the bars in Johnson County, and we've delivered them already. Today is the kickoff, although I know some of the bars were so excited they already started giving them out, which is fine. And we are asking you, whatever ones you go to, or even if you don't go to a bar or lounge, but you want to swing in and say, hey, I heard about these coasters, can I get one? And they'll give you one. And what we're asking you to do is take these coasters, and whether it's a picture with you in it or not, that's whatever your comfort level is, take a picture of that coaster, and on your personal social media, say, hey, for all my veteran friends and family, neighbors out there, if you are ever struggling and you feel like you don't have someone to talk to, please reach out to me. We're not asking you to put that out to the whole public. It's just your publics, your friends, family, whoever is following you on social media. The other part of this, which is really big and is an important part of this, is both the county and our suicide prevention team are offering training to all of the bars that take part, and really any community entities that would like training about suicide prevention. When we rolled this out in Casper, I had a bartender say, yeah, we're liquid counselors. And I'd never heard that before. Bartenders probably can appreciate that. And we know that you guys talk to a lot of people, and you probably read people pretty well because you see so many people. And so we want to make sure that you have the tools to not be a professional counselor or a licensed, therapist, but know if there's something that feels a little more off than somebody just venting. And we want you to know what resources are available, whether it's 988 or the county or the VA if they're a veteran. We want to make sure that the bars where we know people go and blow off steam or whatever the case is, that they know that if they're really at a dark place and maybe are heading towards crisis, that the community will come together and raise a flag and say, hey, let's call somebody and let's get some help. To reiterate what Kayla said, because sometimes we lose the focus on this, is the Veterans Crisis Line, like Kayla mentioned, is for anyone who wants to help a veteran. So even if I weren't a veteran, I could call that number and say, hey, I've got this friend, they're a veteran friend of mine. I'm really concerned about them, but I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Those professionals will help you. You don't have to give the veteran's name. They will walk you through steps that you can take and maybe try to guide you on some things that you can do and get you some resources. And so that's so important. It's 24/7. And we really want to push that is for anybody that's trying to help a veteran. I want to end with a personal story. So my first duty station in the Navy was in Iceland. It was a couple of decades ago, give or take. I didn't know anything about suicide prevention. I'd never been exposed to it as, when I was growing up. And a friend of mine started showing signs, which I didn't recognize, that she was struggling with some things and was giving away stuff. She gave me a watch and I'm like, well, why are you doing that? And she wouldn't answer. Luckily, I told another friend of mine who was very aware of suicide prevention and said, hey, we need to go find her right now. And we got her help. And I'm so thankful because I was so ignorant at that time of what those signs and symptoms may be. And I'm so thankful for all the education that we're trying to get out about suicide prevention. And I hope that you embrace this and share this knowledge, talk about it, get rid of that stigma that it's not okay to talk about, because it is. And that's how we get people to help and resources. Thank you.
I'll get it. There we go. I joined my local Wyoming Armored National Guard unit, the 1041st Engineers, in April of 2001. I belonged to 2nd Platoon, located in Afton, Wyoming. It was made of people I knew, some very well. Since my birth, I knew a lot of these folks. It was going to be a great time, serving my country, taking glorified camping trips, all while they paid for my higher education. I returned from my basic training and AIT in August of 2001. Although I was not required to do so, I attended my first drill. But by the time my second drill were to take place, our world had changed. We are approaching an anniversary of an event that I have come to realize in my middle age. Many in the world cannot remember. Some weren't born to remember. And semantics aside, an event that would lead us to not one, but two wars. The 1041st Engineer Company would deploy to Iraq in 2006. After 4 months of continued training, we would spend over a year in country. We were one of the last units to remain deployed for such a time. You'll have to excuse the shaking. I'm used to radio, not public speaking. Ooh, it's getting out of control. Big breath. We're all here together, right? All right. As you can tell, I deal with anxiety. I'm going to tell you why, hopefully. When we arrived in country, I asked a fellow sergeant how many IEDs, improvised explosive devices, that they had faced in their time. They'd been there for about the same duration, around just a little over a year. He said 7. That's about 1 every other month. And I thought, well, I can handle that. We can get through that. That's not a problem. Although it was a scary thought, I knew we could do it. But things changed. Insurgency intensified within our region. The 1041st would go on to not only face and survive more than 170 IEDs, we also were involved in multiple small arms engagements. I honestly lost count how many times myself and my team were hit, but 2 events will stay with me forever. Catastrophic events. A double stack Russian anti-tank mine and a culvert emplacement will remain with me for the rest of my life. I didn't go to the VA when I returned. That was for someone else. That wasn't for me. I sought solace in a bottle. I would eventually lose everything that I held dear. My family, most of my friends, my unit. Every time I would cause something horrible to happen, people would say, well, this has got to be rock bottom. But I am an Army engineer. I know how to move rocks. I can delve deeper and travel farther. My rock bottom would come in April of 2015. I had drank everything and everyone away. So I decided to quit. But a month after I quit drinking, I suffered a nervous breakdown. Everything the booze had drowned out finally had room to breathe. That and the loss of my family due to the drinking was too much. I traveled into the mountains. I found what I thought was an isolated place. And I decided that the world was done with me and I was done with the world. I thought it was a foolproof plan. But due to a group of university students, some well-trained doctors, I awoke in a bed. And then I was taken to the 8th Ward over the Sheridan VA. One of my first times visiting Sheridan. For 3 days, under watchful eyes, I meditated and tried to figure out where I had dropped the ball. Not just this one time, all of life. I went back to my first memory and started there. So I identified cycles, events that I caused to occur over and over again. I didn't blame anyone else. I never did. I don't blame the Army. I don't blame the war. I'm the one who made these decisions. So I'm the one who needs to fix it. So for the next 2 years, I worked to break these cycles and worked to become someone that I could not only love, but someone that I like. It's not easy, even today, but with the help of doctors at the VA, my brother in arms, Sergeant First Class Joshua Edwards, committing myself, help with my wife, I've done just that. I've become someone I would want to know. And that has been a long time coming. I've raised a little girl. And I've been lucky enough to find a wife that loves and supports me. Hates me a little too much, But I sure love it. If you need help, we're all here. Not just the Sheridan VA. Former unit brothers and sisters that are out there. People who were in another service. We usually don't like to reach out to Navy and Marines, but they're one of us. If you can't dedicate your life to yourself, then dedicate it to service. If you can't find a reason to get up in the morning, then a good reason is to go find someone to help that day. Service members are just that, service members. We served to protect this nation and its allies during 2 wars, during many wars, Vietnam, Korea, the Gulf. Now serve to find some peace, because it is out there. And if you need help, reach out to me. If you need help to help, reach out to me. Please welcome local veteran, Stephanie Fisher.
My name is Stephanie Memmer Fisher, and I was a military police in the United States Army from 1997 to 2006 during Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. After I got out, I waited 13 years to go to the VA. And I'm here to support my fellow veterans and let them know that they can always reach out to me. Let's end veteran suicide.
Once again, I want to thank all the veterans for being here with us today. I can see you out there looking good, every one of you. Please reach out. And please welcome the governor of our state, Mark Gordon.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks very much for being here today. Floyd and Stephanie, I have my coin here. And to get started, I'd like to thank you for your service. This coin was done by somebody you may know, Staff Sergeant Whitley of our National Guard. And he depicted the code of the West on the outside. I've added an 11th principle, which is to leave the world a little better for being here. And my brands are on the outside. So if I may. We know we always ride for the brand, and how important it is to acknowledge this today. You know, a couple of years ago, we lost a great senator a few years ago, John Schiffer, who served as a river rat in Vietnam. And people always said, well, you know, in Vietnam, the Navy really didn't have that many serious missions. And if it was the Army or the Air Force, there's tougher things. But we know more than that. River rats were the people on those patrol boats, and they got shot at every day. And I can remember John came back and he struggled. But he found a way to be helpful to everyone. First with the Northern Wyoming Mental Health, then with the VA, and on. There was no greater champion for suicide prevention, for mental health issues, for what we've come to know as moral injury, not just PTS. And it's not a disorder. It's PTS, post-traumatic stress. Since that time, we have, in the state, really been serious about what we can do to address this issue of suicide and suicide ideation. I can remember some of my classmates, my daughter's classmates up here, and the struggles they had. And we needed to find ways to make sure that they could get the access to the issues that to the care that they need. And it became clear as we looked at other towns that there were things like the J Foundation, which is about getting boots that remind you every day, pull your boots on and ask somebody how they're doing. Or if you're not feeling well, ask them if they can listen to you. Recently, we've got a couple of programs that have really made a difference. One of them is something called Veterans Talking to Veterans. We're not talking about counselors. We're not talking about psychologists or anything else. We're talking about coaches, people who have been there. Because if there was one thing John Schiffer told me over and over again, it's your buddy that matters. Your buddy is who you count on. Your buddy is who you are in the fight with and who you want to make sure gets home. What Veterans Talking to Veterans does is it equips coaches, people who have been there, to deal with issues. And it's been remarkably successful in Cody 2 years ago. I remember as they walked out on the 4th of July, they walked out a big flag and they were all going to spread it out. And I remember that one of the coaches was there and he said, please remember, there's going to be fireworks. Because the last time that we did this, everybody ducked under the flag. So remember that there will be these moments. And if you have any need, please come to our Veterans Talking to Veterans coordination. Down in Casper is an effort to set up with QPR. And my cousin, who is the grandson of George Patton, has also set up something in the Patton Veterans Project, where they put together 4 or 5 veterans, and they talk about their story. Because talking about your story is so important, and Floyd's courage up here today to talk about those issues is something, Floyd, we should give you a hand. It is so important that we listen, that we care, and that we ask day after day after day. It's not just about, please, all the veterans stand and we'll give you a hand. It's about being there for them and also for their families, because families serve just as much and sometimes even more than the individual who's in the service. So to all the veterans, I say thank you very, very much for all your service, for making this country what it is. This country owes you a lot. We owe you a lot. We need to make sure that we get you every service that you need, and that anyone who feels they want to reach out can reach out. And I think that also means that we can reach out to them. This state is one of the best for veterans. God bless Wyoming. God bless the United States. And God bless our precious veterans. Thank you.
Now, please welcome our Johnson County Commission Chair, Mr. Bill Avade.
Thank you. And I don't know what can be said after those 2 very, very brave veterans, as well as our incredible governor. But what I want to talk to you today is about numbers. And recently we've got really good at quantifying the number of loss in this community. I can tell you how many acres we lost in this range fire, how many families it's going to impact. But the one number that we cannot quantify within this community is that figure of loss. We have more veterans per capita in this county than most counties in the state. And I will tell you that the loss of one veteran in this community and in my community and county is one too many. Now, I know we have not done our best and we have failed you. The community mental health system in Wyoming and particularly in Johnson County right now is not meeting the needs. Hopefully this effort, coupled with some of those efforts that the governor has talked about, we will be able to fill those gaps. But I can tell you, and I pledge to you that we're going to get that fixed. But right now, our citizens and our veterans are not being served by our community mental health center. It's dereliction of duty, and by God, that's going to stop. Because one, that number that I told you about is one too many. I have a veteran in my life who has gone through some mental health issues recently. I wish I could have done more. Luckily, we still have that veteran, but one is too many. So thank you all for being here and make that pledge with me. When we look at numbers within this county, one is too many. No more loss. Let's stand together. Let's solve this problem. But again, one is too many. Thank you.
Please welcome the mayor of Buffalo, Mr. Shane Schrader.
Good afternoon, and it is a good afternoon, and I want to thank you all for being here. This is not an easy topic to discuss or even be a part of, but we are all here today because suicide has touched our lives in some form. A family member, a friend, a loved one, someone close to us has died by suicide, attempted suicide, or even thought about it. Some of us have lived through it, or we support the families that have. And thinking of what to say here today, I thought of one of the things I like to do. I like to go through caves. I've been through almost every public access cave in the United States. Mammoth Cave, Carlsbad Caverns, Winton Cave, Rushmore Cave, almost all of them. So how is going through a cave like mental health? It starts out as a beautiful moment, full of excitement, wide open entrance to the unknown, people laughing and people talking. Then you start a slow, step by step, into darkness, each step a little darker, a little colder. Those steps become closer together and a little more dangerous, and sometimes even slippery at times. The group of people you go with, from a mass of people, start the single file as your journey goes along. Those people become quieter. As you go, there will be some moments of beauty along the way, but you keep going. And as you get to the bottom of the cave, you get to one spot on the journey and the light goes out. Total darkness. In this darkness, you can no longer find your way. It's cold, dark, scary, and you truly feel alone. You cannot find your way out. But do not fear, because the tour guide will turn on the light and you will begin to climb your way out of the darkness. As the light becomes brighter, you will start to feel the warmth, and you can now look around and realize that you are never alone. Others have walked through the darkness of this journey with you. Each step on your journey out becomes a little wider, a little drier, and a little safer. And at the end of the journey, there is light, warmth, and beauty again. Folks, the time has come for us to stop standing idling by. We need to be the tour guide. Turn on the light of hope and help those in need to find their way out of the darkness. Because it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to hurt and ask for help. It is okay to rest when you are weary, and it is okay to ask for a light in the darkness. Veterans, you fought for us. Let us now fight for you. We have seen as a community, we can and will come together for those in need. And I thank you for all the support today, tomorrow, and the future. If you or your friend are in need of a light of hope, call me, call a friend, call a buddy, call 988 and press 1 to ask for help. Tour guides are waiting. Thank you.
Please welcome VFW and American Legion Quartermaster, John Zorbas.
Thank you. I'd address better if I knew I was going to speak. Thanks, Floyd. Thanks for your stories. Been there, brother. Walked the same shoes, same dirt. Many years more than you, but thank you for your stories too. Forget your name, Stephanie. Sorry. Just recently got done with cancer treatment, so my memory's a little off. But as a VFW and American Legion, we support our veterans, obviously, here in Johnson County, and we want to invite all of the veterans. We have a breakfast every Thursday morning. It's free. All you do is show up, pancakes, bacon, coffee, and all the ribbon you can get from an alternate service. So the camaraderie is there, and that's what's been drawing our crowds in every week. And it's also a place that if you need help, to either with the VA in dealing with them. As a former first sergeant, I will raise all the hell I need to raise to get your problem solved. And I know personally the people at the VA, and if I don't care. Because we'll get you the help. If you know of somebody that needs help, the VFW and the American Legion, we have a $3,000 cash account that is ready at a moment's notice to help veterans or veterans' families. So all it takes is a phone call. My number's on the Facebook page. We're there every Thursday morning, rain or shine. If you want to get up at 5 and beat the old guys down there, you're welcome to it. But it goes from about 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So if you know of a veteran who is lonely, has lost his spouse, his family, and just by himself, let him know about that breakfast and bring him down there. We'll get him his own coffee cup, and it's like Cheers. You can show up, they can show up, and everybody knows your name. And it's done a lot of good things for the veterans that have come, both in the past, and we're hoping it'll continue into the future. So again, if there's a veteran out there, come to breakfast. We'd be more than happy to have you. Thank you.
I can testify to the idea of sitting and meeting with other veterans being therapeutic. We recently lost one of our own out of the 1041st this year. And for the first time since coming home, we all gathered. My wife can tell you how nervous I was at first. I didn't know what I was going to say. After drinking myself into a stupor for years, how do I face my brothers and sisters? Well, they're your brothers and sisters. And that was the best therapy I could ever ask for. Sitting with other veterans, talking about things that only we understand. It was great. We want to thank and recognize and appreciate all the participating businesses and organizations and proud supporters. Reach out to me. If I can get this to fold correctly. Bison House at the Buffalo Golf Course. Bond's Brewing Company. Bozeman Trail Steakhouse. Powder River Pub in KC. Rosie's Americana Cafe. The Cowboy Bar and Grill. The Invasion Bar and Restaurant in KC. The Lounge at Crazy Woman Liquors. The Occidental Saloon. The Outback Lounge. Unwind. American Legion Post number 13. Veterans of Foreign War Post 2469. Christie's Barbershop. Mr. Todd's Barbershop. The Buffalo Bulletin. Sheridan Media. The City of Buffalo. Johnson County. Buffalo Chamber of Commerce. Johnson County Public Health. Suicide Prevention Coalition of Johnson County. And the Veterans Administration Medical Center, located in Sheridan.